Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, it is 9 a.m. and the live stream has begun. You may begin your meeting.
Thank you. If I can have order, please. Can I have order, please? Looking to my left and right and on the screen for Councillor Hildebrand, I see that we have quorum, and I will call this meeting to order. First order of business is the national anthem. For those who are able, would you please stand? Thank you very much. Next order of business would be the land recognition statement, and today we will have Councillor Wink recite that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandurunk, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by Upper Canada treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is a result of the resources and lasting friendship of Indigenous peoples.
Thank you very much. And next would be the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I have an amendment moved by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Bernarski, that the agenda be amended to add information correspondence under item 9.3. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any additions or to the agenda or corrections? Thank you. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you. That then brings you to the agenda as amended, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I have that moved again by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Bernarski for the vote.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings you to disclosure of pecuniary interests.
Is there any member that wishes to disclose any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you. I will note that. And that brings us to our first item this morning. We are joined by Ryan Cook, our Manager of Public Works, for the annual presentation of the 2025 holiday card.
While we're waiting, I wanted to give a shout out to now that we have children here today, especially for our Christmas card and keeping in the season. On Sunday afternoon at the Niagara Ice Dogs game, we had a rousing rendition of O Canada performed by students from Glen Green School. And I want to give a shout out to the staff, teachers, and the students and their parents that conducted in that. They received a very loud ovation from the 3,000 fans that were there. So a shout out to them, putting Pelham on the map again. Thank you.
Yeah, through the mayor. I want to start again by thanking council and staff for allowing me to do this for another year. It's always a surprise that I get to stand back up here and present this, and also like to thank some of the kids that from that have participated that are sitting in a council meeting. Also think that's super awesome. If you ever want to attend another council meeting, let me know. It's great. So this. Where is it? Yeah, okay, we can get going. So this card is one of my favorite cards. Is from Judith from Fonthill Montessori Preschool. Has a snowman and a couple kids playing in the snow. And if Judith is here, no, I'm not seeing anyone. Yeah, this is one of my favorite cards. It's very, very well done. I could certainly not produce that myself. This one depicts a Christmas scene in the morning of family looking at a mantle with you can see the lovely stockings hanging there, and it looks like a really nice place to spend a Christmas morning. And this one is Liv from Maple Crest Early School. So thank you. Oh, thank you. Hey, stand up. Stand up. Give away. Yeah, thank you. Really nice card. This one is Everly from Maple Crest School as well. And this one is a reindeer might have had a slip and fall, possibly on a sidewalk earlier this winter. But anyway, this is also my favorite card. Everly, is Everly here? She's at school. Oh, good. All right, Everly, way to go, keeping it at school. That's good. Like that. Next, please. So this one is, I'm going to say Gabriel. Gabriel, I got it right. All right. Again, from Maple Crest Early School. And this is a winter scene with a snowman. See the snow falling very beautifully over the landscape. Is Gabriel here? He's at school. Yeah, I really like the dedication of some of these kids from that school. It's awesome. Nash is from Maple Crest Early School as well. Nash could potentially be a volunteer firefighter for the town of Pelham. It looks like he does enjoy some winter activities and ice fishing, which is way too cold for me. But is Nash here? Hey, Nash! Hey, way to go! Let's stand up for the wave. All right, you're not. I like Nash. Nash's quiet. It's good. This one is Mackenzie from AK Wig. Mackenzie drew a lovely, I think that's a gingerbread house with a snowman out front. Really like that. Mackenzie is one of my favorite cards. Izzy, another one of my favorite cards ever from Maple Crest Early School. Is Izzy here? She's at school. Wow, you guys are extremely dedicated kids at Maple Crest Early School. But anyway, this actually reminds me of my daughter and my dog, so I really like this. Was one of my favorite cards of the year for sure. Ava from Maple Crest Early School. Do I have an Ava? All right, let's stand up. Wait, yeah. All right. That's awesome. Ava has another dog-related themed card. I really like this one. Standing outside, kind of cold in your pajamas, I'm assuming. But yeah, thanks a lot, Ava. That's one of my favorite cards this year. Rylan has a name very close to mine. That's why. Oh, Rylan's here. All right, Rylan. I'm Ryan. You're Rylan. That's why this is one of my favorite cards as well. So this Rylan drew a beautiful picture of someone snow sledding down a very steep hill, which we have quite a few of in the town of Pelham. Please don't snow sled at the parks. We don't do that, but that's okay. If you can find a private hill, that's awesome. All right. And Kian from Glen A. Green. And this is really kind of wraps up the holiday spirit in just one word, is joy. I had probably a little bit too much joy last night, so I'm a little raspy. But Kian, this is one of my favorite cards if you're here. And thank you very much. Oh, hey, he's here. All right. Way to go. Thank you very much for participating this year. It was really good. Yeah, and again, just like to thank everyone who submitted artwork, and all entries are on display at the Meridian Community Center.
Thank you very much, Ryan. It's a great job again this year. I think you have a job for as long as you're here. No one seems to be jumping in to challenge your expertise. If the kids in the audience and parents want to leave and go to school, like those other ones that had to stay at school, now would be the time to do so. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for bringing the kids. And thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6.2, and we are now joined by Leilani Lee Yates, CAO of the NPCA, for a presentation on regional conservation authorities. Jody, I think you'll probably have to share it from your computer. Our apologies. It appears that the podium computer is being a little sticky this morning.
Sharing it from my screen. Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor and members of council. My name is Leilani Lee Yates, and I'm the CAO and Secretary Treasurer for the MPCA, and with me today is Lise Gagnon, Director of Corporate Services. And thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an overview of the province's proposal for establishing the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency and regional conservation authorities, and MPCA's key concerns with the proposal. In preparing our comments, myself and our chair, John Metcalf from Haldimand County, attended information sessions and roundtable discussions with provincial staff, conservation authority, and municipal staff. And our comments are shared among conservation authorities and municipalities. On December 5th, our board passed a resolution opposing the proposed regional consolidation because the proposal lacks the justification, would significantly diminish local governance, and fails to recognize the effectiveness and efficiencies already achieved within existing watershed models. And further, on December 11th, Niagara Region Council also passed a motion to oppose the proposed consolidation. Within our jurisdictional watershed, we also share that with the City of Hamilton and Haldeman County, and they have also passed resolutions in opposition to this proposal at this time. So I'm just briefly going to touch on Bill 68 and what that entails in terms of the provincial agency, as well as the proposed changes to the Conservation Authority. Next slide, please. So in November, Bill 68 was introduced and did receive royal assent, which includes the amendments to the conservation authorities to establish the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency. And further, on November 7th, the province posted on the Environmental Registry of Ontario a policy proposal to consolidate Ontario's 36 conservation authorities into 7 regional conservation authorities. And the deadline for comments is December 22nd. And these changes are intended to improve the Conservation Authority system to help get shovels in the ground faster for homes and infrastructure projects, while strengthening the vital role CAs play in managing watersheds and protecting communities from floods and other hazards. Next slide. And we can jump to the next one as well. Thank you. So the recent amendments to the Conservation Authorities Act set the parameters to establish this provincial agency that will provide centralized leadership and oversight to the conservation authorities. The agencies to include 5 to 12 members appointed by the Lieutenant Governor and Council and serve up to 9 years in total. The objects of the agency relate to the transition to a regional conservation authority framework and the oversight of CA operations, finance, fees, policies, standards, strategic planning, and implementation of a standardized and centralized system for processing development permit applications. The agency may issue directions to conservation authorities governing their operations, including programs and services, budgeting, asset management, and strategic planning. Under the amendments, a chief executive officer will be appointed by the Secretary of Cabinet to be employed by the agency, and the CEO can appoint employees, arrange for facilities and equipment, and obtain expert and technical services. The minister may fund the agency, and it's our understanding at this time that the province is committed to funding the agency for the first 2 years. But the agency may also establish and require payment of fees from conservation authorities related to its performance and duties. And the agency may recover costs and expenses the agency incurs by apportioning costs to conservation authorities. Next slide, and then we can go to the next. In identifying the boundaries of the 7 proposed regional conservation authorities, the province developed criteria that primarily focused on natural watershed systems, reducing municipal duplication, keeping existing CAs whole wherever possible, and aligning with source protection regions to maintain strong connections to local hydrology and drinking water protection. Next slide. Currently, Ontario's 36 conservation authorities are organized based on local watersheds, crossing municipal boundaries, and each CA operates independently, governed by a board of municipally appointed representatives. Conservation authorities do remain one of Ontario's best tools for balancing the province's urgent housing needs with the equally urgent imperative of watershed protection and climate resilience. And under the current system, more than half of all municipalities and areas served by CAs fall within the jurisdiction of 2 or more conservation authorities, which, according to the province, results in unnecessary duplication that diverts resources from frontline conservation work and service delivery. If the proposed regional consolidation is implemented, this would be reduced by 63%. The 7 proposed regional conservation authorities are Lake Erie, Huron-Superior, which also includes Lakehead and Thunder Bay, Western Lake Ontario, Central Lake Ontario, Eastern Lake Ontario, St. Lawrence, and Northeastern Ontario. Next slide. Under this proposal, the MPCA would fall under the Western Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority, along with Hamilton Conservation Authority, Conservation Halton, and Credit Valley Conservation. And these boundaries extend along the Western Lake Ontario shoreline from Niagara through Halton and Peel, encompassing both urban and rural watersheds that support the Greater Toronto-Hamilton corridor. The proposed regional CA would also include the Niagara Peninsula Source Protection Area, the Halton-Hamilton Source Protection Region, and Credit Valley Source Protection Area, which is part of the Credit Valley, Toronto Region, and Central Lake Ontario Source Protection Region. The regional CA would cover approximately 500,000 hectares of land and approximately 2 million people. The new watershed-based boundaries would include portions of 5 upper-tier municipalities, 3 single-tier municipalities, and 25 lower-tier municipalities. And currently, the 4 governing boards of directors include a total of 53 members. Next slide. So for the Niagara Peninsula watershed alone, we span approximately over 242,000 hectares of land, includes 15 municipalities with approximately 500,000 residents. The watershed encompasses 90 kilometers of the Lake Erie shoreline, approximately 50 kilometers of the Lake Ontario shoreline, the Niagara River, portions of the Niagara Escarpment, and the northernmost range of the Carolinian Life Zone. There are nearly 5,000 kilometers of watercourses in our watershed jurisdiction that are part of 3 major drainage basins, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and Niagara River. And together, these interconnected water systems form the hydrological foundation of our jurisdiction. Next slide. In general comparison to the 3 other conservation authorities within the proposed Western Lake Ontario Regional CA, MPCA has the largest watershed jurisdiction with the least amount of staff and the smallest operating budget. In terms of land holdings, MPCA and CVC have similar size CA-owned lands, followed by Conservation Halton and Hamilton Conservation Authority with the largest land holdings. With the 2 Great Lakes shorelines, the MPCA jurisdiction represents the largest length of coastal shorelines and communities. All 4 CAs offer similar watershed-based programs and services scaled to local needs. And in the last several years, MPCA's focused on operational improvements through updating planning and permitting policies, updating corporate policies, developing new guiding strategies, enhancing procedures, and implementing other modernization initiatives, including investments in software and data management. And we've really set an example of how CAs can implement best management practices, and we do remain committed to improving the delivery of our programs and services for the health and well-being of our communities and the market. Next. In reviewing the proposal, we have concluded, and we do welcome, new provincial investments in technology, standardization, and modernization. We are concerned, however, that the proposed framework would create complexities and risks to local municipal representation, decision-making, local expertise, and delivery of programs and services. And as such, MPCA does not support the proposed framework. While it is understood that the agency and the proposed framework are intended to get shovels in the ground faster while strengthening the role of conservation authorities, we have not benefited from reviewing any assessments or analysis that have determined the need to restructure Ontario's current conservation authority framework. Currently, we're meeting provincial government set timelines for issuing development permits 96% of the time, and we continue to coordinate with municipal partners and developers while taking a solution-focused approach to improving service delivery. And it would be more beneficial to have clearer goals and guidelines that are evidence-based to drive further modernization and streamlining than restructuring the CA framework. The process to consolidate assets and liabilities would be complex and lengthy, and a cost-benefit analysis and legal review of such a merger should be completed before any consideration of implementing the Regional Conservation Authority framework. And for Western Lake Ontario CA, going from the current combined oversight of 53 board representatives to anything less will be challenging and risks losing diverse local voices. Next slide. So we are concerned that the proposed regional framework will result in increased costs to municipal funding partners. The agency funding model allows the province to charge back fees to conservation authorities for supporting services to implement agency directives and can cost apportion operating costs to the regional conservation authorities. While some costs may be one-time transition-related costs, others will be ongoing to maintain operations and infrastructure of larger corporations. It's recommended that the province immediately reassess the annual natural hazard management transfer payments to conservation authorities of which MPCA only receives $90,000 a year, to provide sustainable, predictable provincial funding across conservation authorities. With the additional administrative oversight and boards representing larger, more diverse communities and potentially complex budgeting processes, there is a serious concern that our dedicated expert staff will be unable to deliver the same quality programs and services that our communities expect. And should the province decide to move forward with the framework, it will be imperative that our existing staff complements are maintained to ensure the continuity of frontline services without disruption, including commitments under agreements with our municipal partners. Next slide. So in terms of next steps and our understanding of the timeline, consultation on the ERO posting is still open until December 22nd, and we do encourage our municipal partners and community members to submit comments. And when the new provincial agency is established, it would lead the transition to regional conservation authorities, including providing guidance and support throughout that process. We are anticipating further legislative change proposals in the spring when the House sits again in March and into April. And changes are not intended to be initiated until after municipal elections after October 2026. The existing board will continue to serve until the expiration of their term. MECP staff also recognize that transition will happen in phases, but we haven't been provided those details at this time. Next slide. So I'd like to assure our partners, our communities, and our municipalities that MPCA continues to operate as usual, delivering programs and services without disruption, including commitments under agreements with our member municipalities and other partners. We'll continue to ensure the continuity of frontline services and maintain the high standards that our communities rely on. We'll continue to engage with the province and municipal staff and provide constructive input to ensure that any framework continues to address our unique needs of our watersheds and achieves an effective balance between watershed protection and housing goals. I thank you very much for your time and your continued support of the MPCA, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Leilani. Excellent presentation. Before I open it up to council for any questions or comments, the CAO would like to comment on this.
Thank you for the presentation. Council, for assist and for clarity, fundamentally the ask this morning is whether council would consider endorsing formal commentary on behalf of the corporation to Ontario as it's asked for comments about this proposal. If that is your will, my office is capable of producing formal commentary before the end of the week. My office is fairly well versed in this and frankly shares the concerns identified by Ms. Yates this morning. There are two things I would bring to your attention. The first is Ontario's commitment to pay for the supervising conservation, the overarching agency is for 2 years. And after that, that agency will be able to charge the, in theory, 7 existing conservation authorities thereafter for its own existence. I know of I can cite no example in provincial history where, so the NPCA gets 53.9% of its funding from municipal taxpayers. Understanding that money we pay, we transfer to the region is used. This is the only 2-tier jurisdiction I've ever lived or worked in where it's paid at the upper tier rather than at the lower, but whatever that is, that's fine, it works. But understand that if you're a taxpayer in Niagara, you do pay just over half of the operating budget for the NPCA. It is fundamentally local government. And I can point to no example in Ontario's history where municipal property taxes have ever been used to pay for provincial civil servant salaries. And that is exactly what will happen in 2 years, with no capacity to say no. In that sense, it's not different than the Conservation Authority and the police both go to upper tier of the region and essentially submit their invoices. There's a little more to it than that, and obviously work goes into it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, fundamentally, municipal taxpayers have to satisfy those levy requests, more or less. So that would be the future. We would be paying for provincial civil servants to oversee whatever the future conservation authority in the area. And to reiterate, and maybe to better emphasize, with a population more than 2 million, Niagara has 539,000 people. So it's like a quarter of that. It's a little over 2 million, though. We'd be just under a quarter, and have almost all the shoreline. And Lake Erie is not even mentioned in the title, but like there's a whole lake, and the south half of Niagara is just kind of ignored in this. And we do have properties that drain into that. It isn't just north into Lake Ontario. There is another Great Lake. We're surrounded by water on 3 sides. So those are pieces that have been lost, and not lost by the NPCA, but lost in the shuffle thus far. So that being said, it's fundamentally a political decision to decide whether you want to add commentary onto a provincial initiative, and hence this is before you today. There are some financial reasons. There are some reasons to be apprehensive for a decline in service when there's no longer local control over, as was indicated, the majority of the land, or the majority of the coastline at any rate, and the single largest contributor of land to the new entity, if that's how it goes. So I would encourage you to, if you wish to have a debate or discussion on that, but if it is your will, we could meet that filing deadline. So that is possible at any rate, and we look forward to your commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cribbs. Now open it up to council. Is there any questions or comments on either the presentation or Mr. Cribbs' comments? Councillor Kerr?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative. It does highlight the limitations of the legislation that was passed, and it does highlight a number of the, as I call it, financial risks that are about to be put forth to a lot of the municipalities and the residents of Niagara in this particular equation. I think it behooves us to ask staff to go forward in producing a comment on this to be submitted prior to the deadline date. We need to be on record relative to it. It's an important thing. I look at the Conservation Authority and my background relative to agriculture, and the importance of the Conservation Authority relative to the agricultural community is massive. So this is not a small item that's being brought forward. This is a massive restructure that's going to be basically put on the backs of all the ratepayers in each one of the 7 districts in 2 years, which I think is abhorrent to be paying for an upper tier delivery service by using lower tier money. It's just silly to take. It's unheard of, as was mentioned by the CAO, and I think that's a dangerous precedent that's going to be set, and we may see this strategy used in other entities. So I would endorse that the CAO and his office produce a report and submit it prior to the deadline date. Is there a need to make a motion relative to this?
Well, although my office is always happy to take direction, you don't have to take a vote for me to comply with your wishes. If you do take a vote, then we might include it in the letter.
So then I'll make a motion that the CAO and the staff prepare a comment relative to the province regarding the consolidation of the conservation authorities and the new Bill 68 impact.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder to that motion, Councillor Wink.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Councillor Kerr has said. This is, again, the province just sticking their nose into places where they shouldn't, and I fully support what sorry, can you not hear me back there?
I can't hear much.
Okay. Sorry, my voice is a little gravelly today. Mic's on. Yeah. I agree with all the comments that the NPCA have made, and fully support going forward with commentary to the province on behalf of the town of Pelham.
Thank you, Councillor. So you'll second that motion then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Niznik?
Yes, thank you and good morning. Thank you very much. So just when I look back at the chart with the Credit Valley, MPCA, and Hamilton Halton, the little circles, I wondered why I didn't see any numbers in there. So when you explained what that represented, you know, it's quite shocking that we have the most municipalities, we have the most kilometers, and yet your operating budget is the smallest. So I'm wondering, like, I'm just confused by the provincial government why they would even stick their nose in this when they see an MPCA or a conservation area working efficiently, why they wouldn't have just come to you and said, listen, we need to get Credit Valley and Hamilton and Halton performing the way you do. How can you help us? Rather than that, they seem to be adding a layer of administration, which again, as we all know, administration costs ridiculous amounts of money, and it's only planned to be supported for 2 years. So I'm certainly in support of having our CAO go forward and support your letter and saying this is silly and it just doesn't make any sense, and why they've stuck their nose in this is beyond me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? I just add my comments. I fully agree with the comments that have been made by everyone. I have some real concerns about these mega agencies being formed and losing local control and input and expertise in this area. And so I would be in support of this motion as well. And if there's no further discussion from anyone, we have a motion on the floor. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd also be looking for a motion to accept the presentation of the NPCA for information, and I have that moved by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Kerr, and two for a vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Niznik. Oh, you're voting ahead prematurely. Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings us to our next presentation by resident Frank Manella requesting the creation of snow clearing exemption parking permit. And I would welcome Frank to the microphone. Just make sure you turn that on. It will turn green when you're good. Perfect.
Good morning, honorable members of council. My name is Franklin Manella. I'm just going to refer to my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. So currently, I live on Saffron Way in Fonthill, and just recently moved here about a year ago. So I'm a new resident and citizen. I live in a 3-bedroom freehold townhome on a street which is at the end of a new subdivision. The townhome was built by Mountain View, which includes 3 bedrooms. Unfortunately, there's only 1-car garage and a 1-car driveway attached to the freehold townhome. There are 3 occupants in the residence at the present time, which everybody has their own vehicle, making for a total of 3 vehicles for the property, which creates a problem, unfortunately. We have 2 available spots to park, 1 in the garage and 1 on the driveway, but the 3rd car has to be situated or parked on the street. Historically, I've lived in other freehold townhome, both in Niagara Falls and in Stony Creek. And in both those situations, the townhome section and area there had overflow parking to accommodate residents with the same situation that I have here in Fonthill. There was an additional parking spot formula put forth in that subdivision where an additional parking space was provided for a 3rd vehicle attached to the 3rd bedroom of the townhome, and also additional visitor spaces were provided. Currently, the townhome that I live in has no availability or overflow parking spaces present, and therefore, once again, street parking is used. There is still ongoing house construction in my area, and I'm not exactly sure if there will be overflow parking or if it was agreed upon by Mountain View and the city to be provided. Our real estate agent did confirm that would be a park constructed across the street from my current residence, and I'm not exactly sure when the completion date will be or if overflow parking will be included in that park construction parking lot. So these are a few question marks over my head at the present time. So in my area, we also have detached homes. And at those detached homes, there's 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway provided for those folks who have 4 bedrooms in their detached dwelling. So in a snow event, those detached homes do have the ability to keep extra vehicles off the street. And but in my 3-bedroom townhome, we're sort of at a disadvantage not to have additional space to remove our vehicle off the street in a particular snow event. And of course, last winter, being the first winter living here in Fonthill, I received an infraction ticket for having an additional vehicle on the street, as well as a multiple number of people on the street as well, under bylaw 89-2000. And it is my opinion that unintentionally the bylaw discriminates against townhome owners in that area. So going to the Town of Pelham website, which is very, very helpful in receiving newcomer information, was advocating that residents in my area remove their vehicles from the street and could park at the Meridian Center for an overnight fee. That brings up 2 concerns. One is we don't even know if the Meridian clears its lot as frequently as the city does the roads, so it's a private property. I don't even know what that fee was or how to get in touch with people to pay the fee. Secondary concern I had was that from where I live to the Meridian Center is approximately 1.9 kilometers, according to Google Map. So it's, if you think of the logistics, if I have to remove my car and park at the Meridian Center, then I have to walk 2 kilometers to my home. In inclement weather, that could be pretty much very, very risky and not the best thing for anybody to be out in inclement weather. So some of the residents in my area may be closer or further, and it would be a potential risk hazard to health of anyone walking in that weather and on unplowed sidewalks to get to their own residence. So my point of contention is that I would like to have access to my own vehicle, close proximity to my own home, for a few reasons. As everybody knows, throughout the day, things come up. We have emergent situations where family members need our help. So if I needed access to my vehicle, I'd have to walk back 2 kilometers to the Meridian Center to fetch my car, and of course take possession of it and drive to wherever my emergent situation might be. In summation, I don't think that personally that's an operational solution to be using the Meridian Center because of the reasons I just stated. So that being said, I'm going to go on to my next little category here. So I looked a little bit around other cities around us, what the bylaws are stating, or what the cities are doing regarding snow clearing. In St. Catharines, they offer a winter parking ban exemption to those people living in neighborhoods which are recognized by the city to have limited parking, and their snow clearing infraction is a lot less. The fines levied are $40. So St. Catharines realizes not everybody can remove vehicles from the street. Hamilton as well, they issue permit zone parking, and that's also limited as well. However, it's very vague. They're encouraged to find other parking spots, but also the policy is worded that it's not mandatory, it's suggested. And in Welland, they've adopted a snow clearing exemption permit, where people have to qualify for the permit where they don't have access to remove their cars, where there's no driveway present, nor property. So in summation, I'm just really, really asking that we amend the bylaw where we can allow a third car to park on the street, and maybe we could implement the same thing as Welland is doing, where we could have a snow clearing exemption permit purchased by the owner of the property in the neighborhood and allow us to park on the odd side of the streets. Just quickly mentioning that I did discuss this with a retired member of Niagara Falls who was in charge of snow plowing. He says basically, despite all the ticketing and the information of trying to get cars cleared off the street during a snow event, you'll never get 100% compliance with that. And he, in his days manipulating the snowplow equipment, has says that basically they take it as a norm that there will be an obstruction on most of the residential streets, and they do deal with that accordingly by going around them. So I do understand that the bylaw does speak to the thoroughfares that will use multiple number of times per day. It does make sense that there should be no cars for the flow of traffic on major streets, but I'm looking for a little bit of latitude on residential areas regarding the bylaw by hopefully the council looking at implementing that same exemption permit that Welland offers to their citizens. So.
Thank you for your presentation. Just to clarify, the MCC is not private.
The Meridian? Okay.
Yeah, Meridian
I apologize
Center.
for that error.
And it is plowed. Just to clear that up, is there any comment or questions from any member of council? And I see none, so. Sorry. Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. So you have brought up a very interesting issue, I suppose it would be considered. So I think part of the reason why we have the bylaw is because we've had a huge ask from residents to keep our streets, and now especially even we're paying for sidewalks to be cleared, to be neat and tidy as best we can and get snow off the roads for safety reasons. So, you know, I'm just worried that this would open a whole can of worms in terms of people reaching for exemptions to park on the streets, and then our streets would end up looking like the streets of Buffalo, where I just happened to be yesterday and had to walk through and trudge through, you know, 6 inches of snow on wherever I parked, parallel parked on the road. The snow is everywhere, and they do not remove the snow properly, and even their side streets hardly even see a snowplow go down it. So I know from being on here for 3 years, our residents would be in an uproar should our streets begin to look like that. So that is part of the reason why we ask that residents remove them. There are certainly circumstances that make it difficult for you to find that third parking spot. There's no way you can park tandem on in your driveway.
Done without blocking the sidewalk.
So that's the other issue, right? Is
Have a
blocking.
bylaw that states can't block the sidewalk.
Correct,
and no
yes.
parking on the boulevard between the street and the sidewalk.
So I just wonder if maybe those sorts of things could be explored, because I know sometimes on my driveway we have 4, sometimes 5 cars, so we do park like on the section between the sidewalk and the road. That way,
Yeah.
just because, so I'm
Cuts
just
out to
wondering
the
if,
road, yes.
yeah, I think that would be the lesser of two evils
Well,
for you right now.
Having a shared driveway with a townhome next to me, that's sort of not possible.
Oh,
By me doing that would block my neighbor.
yeah,
in,
you can't do that,
And
okay.
that wouldn't be appropriate.
No,
So,
that wouldn't be appropriate,
I
you're
want to make
correct.
friends here, not enemies.
That's right, yep, fair
I
enough.
do understand, if you mind me responding to you,
Yes,
I do understand you've been in Buffalo, but the reason why I did a little bit of research is because we have communities around us which are suffering from the same things. And I think that the one glove size fits all with this bylaw just doesn't work. I understand it works for main roads and et cetera. Regardless of the number of tickets you write, and regardless of the amount of information you've provided on your website, there's still going to be people that are not from Fonthill visiting relatives, not understanding the bylaw requirements. You will still have people coming to do finishing work at the new homes from out of town, the carpenters, the electricians, etc., who don't know the bylaw will be parking there anyway. So despite you asking us to remove all of our cars, that message isn't going to get out to them. So if the snowplow does come by, there still will be that person parking there. So we're never going to get 100% compliance. So the snowplow just can't come down the road and say, oh, by the way, there's obstruction on the street, I'm not going to plow. If you look at it from the other side of the coin, really on a busy snow event, how many times does the snowplow really plow the street on a quiet residential neighborhood? Probably once in a 24-hour period. We hope more than that, but probably unlikely. So to ask somebody to remove their car for 99.9% of the time, just in case the snowplow comes for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's kind of a big ask for a citizen. And that's the reason why I looked at the alternative of the snow clearing exemption permit, where if you allow people to park on the odd number side of the street, you'd always have the 2 lanes clear for the plow. And in a snow event, a lot of people aren't really going out in hazardous conditions to, I know some people do, but may not be going. So just to respond to you in that respect, so, and respectfully, of course.
Thank you. So I am just wondering if, would it be feasible for some staff to maybe look into what other municipalities locally do with regards to snow clearing and their thing?
Certainly, that is feasible. If council would like a report on the subject, we're quite capable of doing so.
Okay,
Could bring one back in February.
that work? Okay. I would ask that that be done then, please. Do I need to make a motion for that?
We'll take it as direction. If there's, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Just to get a little more information, I think, and be reasonable about the whole ask.
Thank you.
In the meantime, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, the thing that we need to do, and part of it would be, and that's where I think the staff will find out, what are the identifiable areas in these other communities? It's not the entire community that gets an exemption. It must be
it's
something, and
specific.
there must be something that's unique to that particular entity that identifies it. So these are the kind of things that come into play, to have kind of a blanket saying St. Catharines to those neighborhoods recognized by the city. Well, what do they use as a recognition factor? How do they assess that? How do they evaluate it? I mean, these are the kind of things we just can't arbitrarily just say, okay, all new subdivisions, this is the way it's going to be. That just doesn't cut it. My wife used to live in Toronto, and they had stuff for parking on the street, but the plows came by and buried the vehicles in snow. And then you were in good luck to get your vehicle out.
I realize that. I lived in Toronto as well. I'm
Type of
familiar
thing.
with
So
that. So
it was-
that being said,
So whatever, that's just, I agree. More information is always good.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? My concern would be that as well. Who is going to make that decision of who can be exempt and who cannot be exempt? And does that fall to the clerk to decide that? And the other aspect is when you have a blanket policy, then everyone's aware of it or should be aware of it. You'll never get 100% compliance. 50 years ago, I was out giving tickets and towing vehicles because non-compliance to the snow bylaw. So it's something that's been around. It's not new. And to Councillor Niznik's point, I think almost every subdivision that we have signed off on come in, one of the issues is parking. And that we've changed a lot of the subdivisions to allow for more parking because we see what's going to happen. You have room for 2 cars, and there's lots of people out there that have 4. And they got to go someplace, and we know exactly where they're going to go, and they're going to go on the street. So I will agree if we can give some direction to staff to come back with a report on this for more information for council, that would be excellent. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir.
thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. Thank you all. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have noted that direction to staff, and I have a subsequent motion moved by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Niznik, that Council receive the presentation of Frank Manella for information. To Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? Call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that brings you to the adoption of council minutes, and I have a motion put forward by Councillor Kirk, seconded by Councillor Bernarski. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. C-20-2025, regular council meeting of December 3rd, 2025. To you, Mr. Chair, for any errors or omissions.
Any errors or omissions from anyone? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And that brings you to item 8. If there are any items which council would like to lift from the consent agenda, now would be the time to do so.
And is there any request from any councilors to lift any agenda items, keeping in mind that failure to lift one does not preclude you from asking questions on any item or clarification. But if we want to have a more fulsome discussion on something, any member want to lift any item? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings you to the consent agenda. And today we do have a number of staff reports, information correspondence, as well as advisory committee minutes. And the floor is yours for conversation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda items? Councillor Kerr.
Yes, just a quick question relative to 9.2.1, which was the summer chill, and it's directed more to RCW. My query is regarding the farmers market. I'm just trying to find out a little more information because there was a talk about relocation in the report and what has happened so far.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that has been a request from the farmers market to locate into, I'm sorry, the parking lot behind us instead of where they are existing. They do have accessibility issues as well as the flow of the event. People are constantly walking through. Staff are investigating the possibilities on that, and is that report on? And on January 28th, you will have another report coming from staff regarding the EV stations and how that would affect. So nothing has been decided. It's a process, and we're looking at it for them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Niznik.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. If you could just, I guess this would also be for maybe Ms. Quinlan Murphy, just explain what the contracted services entail. Is that like the bus companies and for the shuttles, and what are those contracted services for the summer chill services? Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, sorry. Yes, contracted services are for the shuttle buses, also the security, anything that we would contract out. But that's mainly the two large amounts.
So were those, I guess just a follow-up question, were those services like well utilized and worth that cost? Did you feel like you got value for your money, I guess is our question.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, obviously the security services we would need because it's a licensed area, and also it helps to control parking. And the shuttle buses are being used more and more. We are looking at implementing another, basically we had it previously a farmer's buck, where if you use the service, you can get a farmer's market buck to incentives of using the service. And people park at the MCC, and it's a constant route, and more people are using it.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other comments? I have one question. I know from visiting and making use of the businesses in the plaza behind us here, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Ms. Van Ravensway, but there is an issue, and there always has been an issue, and it doesn't matter how many signs you put up. If you look at Mr. Manella's last thing, it doesn't matter what you do, the compliance is limited. And they continue to complain about people utilizing that parking lot. And I realize we're very restricted in what we can do. We can't enforce parking. It's a private lot. So it's not like bylaw can go in there and issue tickets. And I know that you've looked at that before. Any comment on that?
Yes, so this has been parking has been an issue in our very vibrant town for years. And we have worked with the business community. We have had volunteers manning the entrances. We ask that if you're parking in a business parking lot, that you're also shopping at that business. And as we do not own the parking lot, it's a private parking lot. Some business owners will man their own parking lots or actually have the cars towed. Seems like certain parking lots, if they do have something, a vehicle towed, it seems to fix the issue, and people don't park there. So that is why we are implementing, and we did implement the shuttles, and actually next year we will be implementing additional shuttles at the end of the evening because, the concerts end and everyone wants to get to their vehicles. So we're doing the best we can to try to off-site vehicles.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there are no further comments, I have a motion put forward by Councillor Hildebrandt, by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the consent agenda items, as listed on the December 17th, 2025 Council agenda, be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further comment? Take the vote. All in favor? Passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings you to item 11.2, staff reports requiring action. And our first item this morning is 11.2.1, initiated zoning bylaw amendment for additional residential units. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Bernarski, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0262 for information, and that Council directs staff to proceed as outlined with the zoning bylaw amendment for additional residential units. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions on this? Councillor Kerr.
Yes, I think we all have been discussing in detail relative to this, and it's appropriate that staff undertake this because it's a situation that we've looked at, and I think we need to get the detail and have this handled in what I call a reasonable time frame rather than delaying by any stretch to undertake something like this and something more comprehensive. So that was the rationale behind the request for this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you. I think this is a reasonable direction that we'll take as a town in terms of based on feedback from the previous meetings. And I know the process for the housekeeping bylaw amendments, the process was followed according to legislation. And so this will also be followed according to legislation and offer more opportunity for our residents to have a fulsome discussion on what would be allowed in our town and what we want to see, any changes if possible going forward. Of course, we do realize we are restricted by some means in terms of what the provincial legislation insists we conform to. So I do look forward to some fulsome conversations moving forward in the first quarter of 2026. Those are just comments, no questions. Thank you.
Anyone else? I just want a point of clarification, and I've discussed this with the clerk and I think a little bit with the CAO, but accepting these today, we're not passing the bylaw. Is that correct?
That is correct. You are providing staff direction for one of the reports to bring back the bylaw to the January 14th meeting, and the other is to initiate the planning process for the ADUs.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none?
Okay, you can call the vote. I did, if you'd like me to reread the motion,
No,
I can.
that's fine. Call the vote on the motion? None opposed? Carried.
Okay, that brings you to your next staff report, 11.2.2, recommendation report, zoning bylaw amendment, housekeeping 2025. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0265 for information, and that Council direct staff to prepare the bylaw for Council's consideration in accordance with the summary attached as Appendix A. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any comments, discussion, questions? Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question to our planning director. It is on page 9 of 10 and goes into 10 of 10, section E. So just wondering about the front-facing attached garage shall be set back at least 1.5 meters from the front wall of a dwelling. So I'm just wondering where that kind of came from. I'm just thinking of my own personal home right now. My garage sticks out in front of my front door. So I know a lot of homes do that. And so just wondering why this current, is that for all residential R1, R2 homes, having that design so that the garage is set back from the front door? Is that my understanding or thank you.
So through you to the councillor, good question. We heard a lot of comments from developers, people from the public that were wanting just different variations of house designs, including the garage and where that was located on the property. So that's the initiation of this update. Perhaps Lindsay can speak more to the details of it. And I'll leave that up to Ms. Richardson, if possible.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. Yeah, we did hear a lot of feedback from the development community on sort of this particular requirement. So part of this process was we are proposing to remove the requirement for the maximum front yard, and this helps sort of maintain that to a degree, but not actually having to have that maximum front yard piece anymore. So it kind of forces it to happen through design versus through regulation. And the setback requirement sort of helps more with urban design and the overall layout of development. So that's where we were headed with that. Not tied to it. So if council does not like that requirement, that is something that we can happily remove from those zone categories.
Yes, thank you. Well, I just think that that's going to further limit developers of creating homes of various designs. So I'm just thinking most of the houses on my street actually have the garage set forward. These are single dwelling homes, I understand. And so I'm just wondering if maybe that could be rethought.
Through,
Well, I'm sorry, I'm hoping someone with a planning degree can respond and talk a little bit about snout houses, about the specific, like, I've had the development communities come to me a couple of times to talk about, like, this is a specific request, and let's talk about why they made that request and the examples they've provided, which is why we wrote that in there. You were responding to demand. So I think we can clearly articulate that, please.
yes. So again, Lindsay, help me out here. But again, we've had a lot of discussions with developers that just are looking for more flexibility of how they orient the garage on the property. So the limited setback right now provides some constraints from doing so. As an example, we had a property in the Fenwick area just some time ago that had to come in for a significant planning application because they needed a small variance to allow the design of that with this provision in place. So it's not a big change, but it does provide some flexibility in terms of the setback of the garage. If council would like, when the bylaw is coming forward in January 14th, we can provide some more verbiage at that time through a memo to give you a better understanding and perhaps illustrations of how this provision can provide some flexibility. Lindsay, I don't know if you have anything more to add.
Okay, so yeah, that would be appreciated. I think it's probably I need a visual of that sort of thing.
Illustrations can help in these scenarios quite a bit.
So is it going to prohibit a home having a garage that protrudes in front of its front door?
It'll actually provide more opportunity for that.
Oh,
So
that was my main concern, so.
Yeah,
that
what
it
we're
does-
seeing now, there's a required setback for those garages, and if, a lot of those garages, if they want to be turned on the side, can't meet that setback. So this provides different opportunities for layouts.
Perfect, okay, that was my big concern.
Again, a visual does really
Yes,
help to
okay.
understand this, so we can provide that through memo on the 14th.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Thank you. And to this side, Councillor Wink.
Yes, so I also have issues with this, as indicated by Councillor Niznik. I went for a drive yesterday in newer subdivisions built in the 80s and whatever, and I could confidently say over 90% of those homes built during that period, so that's over 50 years, or 40 years, all the majority of the garages are sticking out front. Councillor Eckert, your house would comply with the new stuff because yours is flush with the face of your house. Councillor Niznik, you're correct. Councillor Hildebrand, your houses would be affected if it were built today. My house would be affected if it were built today. I don't see why proper urban planning is that the garage is recessed. So the urban planning that's been around for 45 years was wrong, and now we're changing it. It's all about aesthetics. You just approved within the last year and a half Emerald Trail. All the garages on Emerald Trail are out front, the full garage, and then you have the building behind it. I see this limiting what we can do on property. If there's a way that you can build it in that gives a builder a little bit of flexibility, that they can go backwards with it. But, you're affecting, if one builder says, well, it's affecting my design, all the other builders, 90% of the other builders are saying this new legislation or bylaw is going to affect the design. So I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Niznik, and I'm not in favor of this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kerr?
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. I think the comments made by our planning director of providing visuals so that we can actually see what the implications of this are is probably the most important part of this whole situation. It's I sort of understand, and there was a bit of I'll call it a smile relative to the planning director relative to construction in Fenwick of a giant snout suddenly appearing on a piece of land that is just abhorrent, to be honest, architecturally and visually, and doesn't match any of the aesthetics. So I would look forward to having the visuals given to us. On the 14th, we can make a decision, yes or no. This is not really the point that we're making a decision at this absolute time. The final decision will be then, but I think that having visuals in front to show us how it impacts design is the more critical thing than it is to, I think you have a vision in your own mind of exactly what it means, but maybe what can be done might be different.
Councillor Wink?
So I understand the concept of the garage driveway coming in to the side. My neighbor's got that. And it's an attractive home. Most of the properties that are being built going forward, because of provincial legislation limiting the lot sizes and the density, you're not going to be having those big properties where people can access the garage in a roundabout way. Yeah, you're going to have the odd property on what I'd like to call an estate lot, but there's not that many estate lots around anymore.
Okay, thank you. Just in, Ms. Dusling?
Thank you. Through the mayor to council, I just wanted to confirm that you're right. Most of those challenges are in the rural area or estate lots. The setbacks, et cetera, and what we're seeing in terms of required parking spaces really require the builds in newer subdivisions and infill lots to have front-facing garages. So these are really situations that are found in the rural area. Alternatively, I will say, if council would like that provision, take it out, you could give us direction and it can be removed from the bylaw and we can further look at it through our comprehensive study in 2026.
From the nods on council, I would suggest that that's what we would like to see happen. Just in the comment made earlier, it'd be one thing to kick me out of my non-compliant house, but God help the person who wants to kick my wife out. So, is that the direction, or do we need a motion for that?
If you would like to remove that requirement, it would require an amendment, and I have one drafted. That clause 2 be amended to add that Appendix A be amended by deleting from Section 6 residential. That requirement being a front-facing attached garage shall be set back at least 1.5 meters from the front wall of the dwelling be stricken from Appendix A.
Thank you. We have a mover, Councillor Wink, seconder, Councillor Niznik. Any more discussion? Councillor Niznik?
So just one follow-up question. So if that's stricken, what does that leave us as a result?
Through you, the councillor, it's the same as exists today. Nothing more would change.
If there's no further discussion or questions, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings us to the motion as amended, and I can reuse Councillor Wink and Councillor Niznik as the mover and seconder if they're willing to do so. So that would be to accept the report for information and direct staff to prepare the bylaw in accordance with Appendix A, save and accept the section that was just stricken. To Mr. Chair for a vote.
Thank you. Any further? Oh, Councillor Wink?
We're not voting on all this yet. There's further discussion. Is that correct?
Oh, if you'd like further discussion on this, yes, we would pause the motion as amended and continue the discussion.
Yes. So further discussion. Councillor Wink.
Section 2, it talks about floor area. I'm not sure if we need to get into the weeds on floor area under this housekeeping bylaw. If you look at MPAC, Registered Certified Financial Appraisers, The insurance companies, they all measure the square foot of the house from the exterior wall to the exterior wall. So to start trying to calculate the floor area is just a cumbersome exercise when looking at the floor plans, plus the square footage that impact determines a house determines what your taxes are. You know, taking away 8 inches on one side and 8 inches on the other side and front and back isn't going to have a meaningful proportion of the home. So instead of being 1,262 square feet, it might be 1,258 square feet. So it's not going to have any direct impact on what your taxes are. So I'm not sure if we need to start getting into looking at the plans and looking at each room and what the interior floor area is of each room. I think that's a redundant exercise. So I'd like some comments on that.
Director Dudley?
Yeah, thank you. Through you to the counselor. I'm assuming you're referring to the definition of gross leasable floor area, not gross floor area.
Well, just the determination of the square footage of a home.
Yeah, so there's 2 definitions there. One's not proposed to change. The other, gross leasable floor area, is. If there are certain specific items that council does not like or wants taken out, or we could leave as is, those are options. You can see the proposed definition provides a lot more clarity in terms of certain areas, like the parking areas, mechanical broiler, common halls, just to give council or to give staff that clarity of what is or isn't included and how it's calculated. But again, if it's council's desire, we can leave as is.
So are you suggesting that the mechanical rooms be taken out of the square footage of the living space?
Thank you through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We are not proposing any changes to the gross floor area for a residential property. The definition for gross leasable floor area is only for commercial properties.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
But again, through you, yes, the areas like mechanical broiler rooms would be taken out of that leasable floor area. Currently, it identifies things like utility rooms. We've just clarified that. It's always been taken out.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're talking apples to apples here.
All right. I don't buy it, but I used to do residential appraisals quite often, and the way I determined square footage was from the exterior, the walls, and in, and left it at that. So, you know, obviously I was doing my job wrong.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments or questions? Any requests? Counselor Wink.
Just clarification on side yard setbacks. Is the measurement from the lot line to the actual wall of the building, or is it from the lot line to the extension of the eaves?
So through you, Councillor, we're getting into lots of technical questions. I wish we have our development planners here. My understanding of how we calculate side yard setbacks is from the side of the yard to the building. So if there is an overhang, there's allowed encroachments for that, and eaves and things like that. There's allowed encroachments for things like air conditioners as well.
Right.
But the setback is from the building to the lot line.
Right. So my question would be, some of the eaves are quite substantial that are getting very, very close to the lot line, and the water on a heavy rainfall is going to shoot on neighbor's property.
Yeah, through you to council again, I don't believe that we've provided any opportunities or suggested any changes to setbacks at this time through this bylaw.
Which can be dealt with comprehensive bylaw.
Yeah, the comprehensive bylaw will look at all of those things. And just as a reminder too, the province has just passed a new bill that also provides more flexibility for setbacks. So there's now a 10% allowance in terms of setbacks.
So
things are
10%
tight.
closer to the lot line.
Things are tight.
Thanks, province. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Okay, no further comments. Again, that would bring us to our motion as amended. And again, we can use Councillor Wink as the mover, Councillor Niznik as the seconder. So it'd be to receive the report, direct staff to prepare the bylaw, save and accept Section 6 dealing with the garages that was stricken. Thank you.
Thank you. No further comments or suggestions. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next item is 11.2.3, update on library renovation project professional services fees. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0261 for information, and that Council approve the detailed design assignment of Phase 2 for FAC 0523 in the amount of $131,642 plus applicable taxes to Ward 99 Architects to complete the detailed design for Phase 2 of the project, and that Council approve the additional funding for FAC 0523 in the amount of $75,642 from the Facilities Reserve. To Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion? I think maybe Councillor Hildebrand has some things he wants to say. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate you allowing me into the meeting. With regards to that, the recommendation on paragraph 2 says that and council approved the detailed design assignment of Phase 2. I just want clarification from the director that my approving this recommendation that detailed design includes ready for tender detailed design drawings, specifications, and design review meetings, and that's all included in that budget.
Director of Public Works.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So, correct. The Phase 2 design will include the detailed design, and we'll have a production of one of the deliverables of that would be a full set of tender documents, drawings, and specifications. And as more than happy to include the Utility Sustainability Working Group in that design process and working through that phase.
Thank you very much. The reason I'm asking for that, I found the committee meetings that we were involved with have been very productive for the new fire hall design, and that's the reason for that request. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and it would not be a meeting without you present in some form or another.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Bernarski.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you, it's not a question, just a comment really that, I don't love that the company came back with nothing other than this is what you get. We're not changing anything. However, speaking with the director, there is the possibility that not approving this and sending it for tender could in fact increase the cost even further, which obviously do not want that. So I would accept the fact that we should approve it, only because it could cost us more if we don't. But just wanted that comment to be out there that I do not love that the company, didn't really provide any leeway, any further discussion, simply responded back with, here's what you get, and that's about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you. Just also a comment. So I just want to be clear. Up top, it says something about jeepers. I just have some confusion. There's a couple numbers here that we're seeing. So at one point, we have the 131,000, but the actual total project phase 2 is 191,000. So just seeking some clarification there. So total fee proposal is 335 at the end of the day for both phase 1 and phase 2. That includes the conceptual design, the detailed design, the tendering document preparation, the construction administration for both of those. Is that correct?
Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, so the 335,000 is the complete gamut of services for phase 1 and phase 2 of the project. That's not staff's recommendation. Staff's recommendation is to proceed with phase 1, which was prior approved through council with a value of 144,000 plus applicable taxes, and only award the detailed design of phase 2, which is $131,642. And that's the total value. The total value of the project would be $275,000 and change. And then so that's the ask, is that we only approve the detailed design portion for phase 2, and the tender and the tendering portion of that, as well as the contract administration for phase 2. Can be looked at when that project is ready to go to construction.
Thank you. I knew there was some confusion in my mind, and I wasn't wrong. So thank you for clarifying that. That makes much more sense now. So we're only, okay, that's great. Yeah, I am disappointed that they didn't come back and tighten up their belt a little bit with the detailed design. However, looking at the design for phase 2, it is a more in-depth project and process because they're doing the elevator and the exterior walls and bumping out that area. So it is a more intense portion of the whole project overall. So I do understand why it is the detailed design might be an elevated cost, but those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always good that you're not confused about your confusion, so I appreciate that. Just my own comments on this, if there's not anybody else. We've been, this library project has dragged on for years. And we're all in agreement that it needs to move forward. I agree with Councillor Bernarski and Councillor Niznik's comments that it's unfortunate that the company didn't come back and look at it more, careful with my words, but you know, here it is and take it or leave it. And I don't want to run the risk of an increased cost or, in fact, a delay towards this project. So thank you. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Seeing none?
Thank you. I'd look for a vote on the matter.
Call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to our next report, 11.2.4, election sign bylaw update. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Bernarski, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be resolved that Council receive report 2025-0212 for information, and that Council approve the bylaw in principle and direct the clerk to place it on an upcoming agenda for consideration. And that Council direct staff to prepare and present the accompanying administrative penalty bylaw amendment as well. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor Kerr.
Thank you. Yes, I was aware in February 2025, City of St. Catharines restricted or enacted a bylaw to eliminate the use of any election signs on commercial businesses. And I was just wondering whether that had been considered within the town of Pelham. Part of it was that they were trying to eliminate replication of things over and over and over and over again. But that was an interesting one. I was trying to track down more information on it, but I failed to find out. I'm just wondering whether the clerk can comment on that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that was a discussion at our area clerks meeting. It was a position taken by St. Catharines that was not widely taken by the rest of the region. So in this case, it was not contemplated.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Is there anything in there about a supporter moving where the sign is put and then putting it in violation and I get deducted from my deposit? Is that, anybody thought about? No, I see not. Okay. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, call the vote on this. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our last staff report for action this morning is 11.2.5, town endorsement of an initiative to combat human trafficking in the hospitality and tourism sector. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0268 for information, and that Council endorse in principle the Regional Code of Conduct for Human Trafficking Prevention as proposed by TOES Niagara and Brock University, and that the Town of Pelham commit to implementing the training components of the Code of Conduct, with People Services arranging a human trafficking awareness session for all staff, and further that the town display human trafficking prevention and awareness materials in appropriate municipal facilities, and that town administration also arrange supplementary role-specific training for staff whose duties involve entering private residences or engaging frequently with the public by 2027, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to TOES Niagara, indicating the town's principled support of the initiative. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion or questions on this matter? I'm fully in support of this, spending most of my adult life involved in this sort of thing. Not the trafficking part of it, but the enforcement against it. And I think anything that the town can do to show our support of this initiative is welcomed. It's a scourge on our society, and the quicker we can eliminate it, the faster we can move on. So thank you very much for that. And if there's no further discussion or comments, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings you to item 14, and I have a motion put forward by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Bernarski. Be it resolved that the Council for the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following, now read a first, second, and third time and pass, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws as follows. 57-2025, being a bylaw to delegate certain statutory powers and duties of the Corporation of the Town of Pelham to certain municipal staff, and bylaw 58-2025 being a bylaw to establish fees and charges to be collected by the Town of Pelham for 2026. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions on that? Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor? None opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That brings us to item 16, resolution to move in camera. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Kerr, that Council resolve into closed session to consider the following matters. Item 1, closed session report 2025-0266, technical planning matter update, labor relations or employee negotiations as per section 239(2)D of the Municipal Act, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege as per section 239(2)F, education or training as per section 239 3.1, and the second item being closed session report 2025-0269, legal claims 2025 update, litigation or potential litigation as per section 239(2)E. To you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If I can just step back for a moment, in my error in not declaring this to you, but under number 15, item 15, motions and notices of motion, I just wanted to make council aware of the fact that at the last Pelham Active Transportation Committee, there were 2 motions by that committee that were unanimously supported, and I'll be working to bring those forward in some fashion in the new year. The first one has to do with the reduction of speed limits within the town, and the other one has to do with the potential naming of the trail behind the businesses on Highway 20. So I just want to let everybody know about that in advance. Thank you. And we'll move now to resolution to move into camera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is on the floor, so for debate and then for you to call the question.
Any question or comment? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Please allow us a moment to close the door and stop the recording.